60 years of my life in this country, and which speaks Spanish. But I have been just like 40 years speaking English. It's my second love in life. And for example, in Espanol, in Spanish, we say te amo. I love you is as short as in English. In English is I love you. In Espanol, in Spanish is te amo. You know how is it in Japanese?
I forget.
Watashi wa aishiteru desu.
Watashi wa
Watashi wa aishiteru desu.
aishi
Aishiteru. Aishiteru
aishiteru
is like that's the verb for love. And watashi is me. Watashi is I. Okay? Me, I is watashi. You is anata.
And wa I remember that wa designates, the subject, so watashi wa, I, and then
Exactly.
des is.
Exactly. Watashi wa, and you say your name. Watashi wa Carlos des. Watashi wa Carlos des.
Yeah. Definitely a lot easier in Spanish.
Yeah, I think no. But Spanish is not easy at all because we have a different.
No, I know. I'm living in Mexico City right now, trying to learn. It's difficult.
Yes. I think that we need some language learning 3.0. It's like an evolution of the forms. I think that Duolingo, Duolingo, of course, I guess. Well,
I do it every day.
Well, I let me tell you that the Duolingo has a wonderful approach because it actually forces your brain to learn the language as you did learn your native language as a kid, as a baby, because it's so easy. It's just like what's it this, a girl or a boy? A boy. What's it this, water or bread? Bread. I mean, you are pointing. It's so easy. It's impossible to fail in the first lessons. You are gaining confidence. And actually, I was doing the Japanese Duolingo course, and it was wonderful. The problem is that they force you to understand the written Japanese, and I'm not interested at all in the written Japanese, katakana, hiragana, because it's too difficult. So we're already here, Tonya, whenever you want.
Okay, we are ready. I'm going to start the recording for the snippets. Okay, we are live now. Okay, everybody, welcome to our NFTs for a Cause. This is our episode 32. We're thrilled today. I'm here with my co-host, Carlos. And again, we started this in February, and we have been featuring all different types of NFTs projects that are giving back. We're not saying that, we only want to feature NFTs that just giving back to an organization. We want to be able to show different projects that are giving back to their basic person that need help. That's where I love the fact that Ellie reached out to me and started telling me about the coming auction and the proceeds, what the proceeds were going for. And then I just did a quick search and take a look at Caden and Nico's Twitter page, and I noticed some of the things that he was doing there with his son Caden. So today we have both of them on. We have Ellie and Caden. I'm not Caden, but Nico on, but Caden's asleep right now because it's like late for him. But welcome everybody, welcome. And again, full disclaimer: when you grab the microphone later on, we're gonna let everyone speak, and if your voice and avatar, you're allowing us, once you grab the mic, you're allowing us to record, live stream, and be able to later on write a blog post about and share the content. So welcome everyone.
Hey Tanya, Carlos, thank you for having me.
So before we start, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then talk a little bit about your project, and then we'll have Nico on too.
Sure, yeah. My name is Eli. If it's easier, you can call me Ellie. Like I said, I've been living in Mexico City. I'm very used to everybody calling me Ellie. It's how most people think that it's said here. But yeah, my name is Eli. I'm an artist. I have been drawing for 15 years or so. Really, I drew when I was a kid, but I really got going with it right after high school. Recently, particularly since NFTs became a thing, I I had really been settling into, you know, my own voice as an artist. I do a lot of like ballpoint pen, very like detailed, figurative, surreal characters. And I have, in the past few years, been dabbling with turning those into digital kind of animated versions. So basically taking the same hand-drawn base character and turning them into digital versions. I do it just because I love it. You know, it's the thing that I enjoy most. I spend most of my days, you know, I get up, I work out, I draw. Yeah, but I've been following the NFT space for, I don't know, since early 2021, probably, and have just really been enjoying, you know, seeing where all of this is going, and it's so cool because like I find it's such an inspiring space to be in because you see so much creativity, and I feel that being a part of this space really it really encourages you to just, you know, like experiment and play, and that's what I've been doing. So the auction that I'm running right now was really a result of all of that. I was following the Toddler Pillars project. They were doing a art contest, so that's why I started the drawing in the first place. And then you know, they actually did 2 contests. I missed the deadline for the first one, but then they ended up running a second one. So and that one they pushed the deadline many months out, so I had time to make a digital version. So I did that, and I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to donate it. You know, totally candidly, it's one of those things that in my life I feel like I haven't done enough of. It's, you know, it's always that like scarcity mindset of like, oh, I don't have enough. Like, I wish I could, you know, give back, but it's just going to be so difficult. So this was a decision that I made that I was just like, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna just auction this off and donate it. And I thought that because it was a Toddler Pillars piece, I would let all of the Toddler Pillars themselves. Well, first I asked them to offer some suggestions on where it could be donated, and then using those suggestions, I ran a poll, and they all voted on it. And Caden won by a landslide. So that's the plan. Is I'm running this auction, and the proceeds from it are going to be donated to Caden. Nico obviously will be able to speak more on this, but I understand that they're raising money for the next 6 months of his education and therapies. And yeah, and the other thing I should mention is that the buyer, the winning bidder, is going to get the framed physical drawing that I'm going to send to them free of any extra charge. So they, you know, pay whatever they bid on the auction, and then they won't have to pay shipping or anything like that. I'm going to send them the physical piece framed.
I'm looking at your, so I pinned it to the nest if anyone want to take a look at that. And so the NFT looks really, really cool. I love all the graphics, but the original drawing, you did that? Is this just in ink or in pen, or tell us a little bit about that, the actual drawing, and what size is it?
So you can kind of get a sense. You can see like a big ballpoint pen in that image right there. It gives you a sense of how big it is. The paper itself is 9 by 12 inches, which I'm not sure what that translates to in centimeters. But it's you know, fairly small. I don't know the A paper sizes. It's like A4 or something like that. But it's primarily a ballpoint pen drawing. That's the primary tool that I use. Even the red color that you see in there is a red ballpoint pen. But I finish it up with some other tools. I like to kind of mix fine art tools with rough tools. So, you know, like obviously a ballpoint pen is just a cheap pen that you can get anywhere. So I start with that. I'll use like some fine line markers, which are like actual drawing markers to detail the edges. And I'll use some white charcoal for highlights. And then with most of my artwork, at least recently, I'll go in at the end and do like a watercolor wash, but instead of using watercolors, I use coffee and wine. So I used a little bit of that, which you can kind of see that sort of that tone, that kind of like warmer tone in the background is from coffee. And then I'll finish it up with a little graphite and, some final detailing again with those nice fine line markers.
They're so precise looking. They look so realistic.
Yeah. It's I don't know if it's a problem or not. I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist at times. My girlfriend and I, Gigi, she's in the audience right now. This morning we were carving a jack-o'-lantern, and she's like, "It's fine," and I'm like, "No, it's not. I have to clean up all of these little scraps that are hanging off the edges." Spent an extra 30 minutes on it.
I love your profile picture, so I mean we have to talk about that toward the end because I love your artwork. So it's almost I don't know, Carlos, does it remind you of there's a art gallery in Tampa. Oh my God, I'll think of him and I'll tell you who it is. He's pretty famous. I think I just went blank on the person's name. Carlos, were you going to say something?
No. What I wanted to say is that I was watching the art on the Ellie page and the Ellie top banner, and it's wonderful. I mean, it's really crazy. It reminds me of you remember the Garbage Pail Kids many years ago, which were just like some cards, just like the baseball cards, but they were supposedly for kids, and they were just like really funny. Many years, I'm talking about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and they have a style that it's not the same. It just reminded me somehow because of the kind of wacky bodies and the separations of the members and just like the craziness of the figures. These are like little Salvador Dali pictures.
That's like who I was thinking. I'm like, I was like, yeah, that's it right there. So
it's Salvador Dali art. It's just like it's totally surrealistic. I love it.
Eli, does anybody told you that before?
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out. What was your question?
Has anyone ever mentioned that to you?
Actually, yes. Well, both of those things. Carlos, over the years, I'll display my art in art walks and whatnot, and like group shows. And I don't know, you must be the 10th or 15th person who's said that, who's mentioned the sorry, what is it called? The Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, and the older the person, the bigger the chance they will.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's not a property that I'm very familiar with, but many people have brought it up, and I did look it up after a few people mentioned it, and I can see why it makes people think of that. There's something similar.
Well, don't take my word for this, Tonya and you, but I remember a story a few weeks or a couple of months ago. There was some guy, or I don't know, that was searching for the old Garbage Pail Kids figures that you can find still easily in the web, in Google, of course. And they were just like ripping them off, just like clearly just like making plagiarism or something. And the people who owned the rights of that company, the original company, disappeared. But they are just like the people who are the inheritors or people who are in charge of that brand now. And they entered, thanks to that, they were alerted by friends, and thanks to that, it seems that the Garbage Pail Kids will be returning as NFTs for next year. I mean, they are just like learning and
Wow.
growing and getting information. So the original Garbage Pail Kids will be making a resurrection probably. But I heard that in a podcast in Spanish. Is a Spanish guy from Madrid in Spain. He's very good and he's really very well updated. But I don't remember the details, but I remember the story, and that's what's happening with a lot of things that were in a big fashion thing in the 70s, in the 80s, and people are using them because and specifically there is a lot of things that the law of copyright and author just like author intellectual property that after 50 years, it comes out of public dominion. So there is a lot of songs, video beats or film beats and stuff. And there are just like these, they call them the license chasers, because where the license ends in the year 50, well, that material it's open to the public. So if it's the first come, first grabbing, it's the owner. And they are there is a discussion about this, because if for example, that a very old, for example, Alka-Seltzer, the little doll of Alka-Seltzer is very old. I think it's more than 50 years old. It belongs to the company, obviously, and even when it becomes public dominion, I don't think it's fair to, I don't know what NFT can do regarding the security. I mean, or the protection of this copyright. What do you know about that, Tonya?
I don't know much about it. I think that's going to have to go on some other spaces. But and again, I think a lot of time I know people who are buying art to just be able to take it, throw it on the AI, and have the AI redo it again. So I mean, the sky's the limit. But so Eli, so how does it work with the community voting? I mean, tell us about that, and then we'll bring up Nico.
Yeah, I just ran it all on Twitter. Well, I actually started in their Discord, but the community manager, his name is Good. I posted it in there, and he actually suggested that I go and post that up on Twitter, which I guess makes more sense. It's kind of the hub for the entire NFT space. So I just tweeted out, explained what my plan was, and asked for suggestions. I think I got 3 of them. 2 of them were for charities, and then one of them was for Caden. And so using those, I ran a poll over the course of, I believe it was 2 days, and Caden got, I think, like 93% of the vote.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
I'm tweeting. Sorry. I'm tweeting as you're talking. I'm like, that's really, yeah, you're really utilizing what Twitter's meant to do. Creating a poll, getting people
I'm trying.
to talk.
I'm trying. I'm learning. It's a work in progress.
So when was the first time you minted your first NFT?
I just minted all of these 2 weeks ago, maybe. I had a while back actually minted some earlier versions of my artwork, but at a certain point, I was looking at them and I just felt that the quality was not up to par. So they've evolved, big time. In the interim between minting those and coming back and redoing these, I spent many months doing some graphic design for a video game, which was a big learning process in itself. And I don't know, maybe you can kind of see some of the, some of that influence in these pieces. Like I kind of, grew to really like that. Like there's almost like a UI kind of feel to some of these. Yeah, so I had just decided that they weren't up to par, so I came back and redid all of it and just minted them. Yeah, it's been like a couple weeks tops.
I think they're beautiful, by the way. I would love to see what one would look like a big one, like a big gigantic one. That's what I would think of. Or, because I used to throw raves in the 90s. So our big thing back then was to get like your flyer is the most important thing. But what if you took one big flyer, cut it up in little pieces, and then pass out those little pieces as a flyer, and when they put them all together, it's one big flyer. So I actually saw someone did something like that with a painting that he did. It was kind of like your work kind of reminded me of his, where he had the big painting, but then he would like cut it up in little pieces, and people would collect them, and then when they put them all together, it became one big puzzle. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but that's what I felt when I was looking at your work. Especially this one right here. I'm gonna pin this one up. I just thought it was really cool. This one right here, the Joker, especially with Halloween and all. I just want to share that one.
Yeah, the Joker is great.
Right? I just pinned that up there. So I just thought that was really, your work is so precise, but yet so fantasy like. I just want to, and also you should also think about t-shirt collateral utilities, because I feel like being sitting on, so I have not minted anything really. I've just been sitting reporting, talking about it, trying to get Carlos to mint his own NFTs. But I'm more like the cheerleader and the communication specialist. So when I look at things, I look at it in a different point of view. So when I look at your work, I was thinking like, wow, this would be kind of cool to wear just as a t-shirt or put it on a phone case, this kind of stuff that people would collect. And then it could be part of your utilities for your NFT too, and that really raises the price on it.
I'm writing, sorry. I'm answering to Karen, actually, as Eli's friend, Karen 77, because she's speaking in Spanish too. We are talking about Guillermo del Toro, but I promise we'll be finished in 20 seconds.
Shout out to Karen. Karen is Gigi's sister. She's up in Canada right now. What's up?
Love it. Oh, this is awesome. So so that's how we got. So that's how you got Caden and Nico, and then Nico. So Caden and Nico's welcome, and so you guys are also NFT artists too.
Well, I'm actually not an artist, but Caden and my wife, yes, they are both NFT artists. I'm more of the voice for my family. So I'm the one who actually comes onto Twitter. I do all the marketing, all the promotion. I go to spaces. I tell people about our project, about Caden's art. That's pretty much what I do. I unfortunately do not have an artistic bone in my body.
Well, you're the communication specialist. See, we're very important, Nico, because that's what I am.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think without the communication specialist, nothing will get off the ground.
What do you mean with that? Explain it to me. I am not.
So like, when I got into communication back like in 2006, and I didn't go to college for communication. I went to college for advertising and marketing. That was my thing. I love advertising and marketing. Either I was going to be a fashion designer or advertising and marketing, whichever comes first, which I didn't become a fashion designer. I took classes to learn about that. But when I told people, when I started my company in 2006, I said, yeah, I'm going to get into communication. And people are like, what do you mean communication? Why do we need communication? I'm like, well, a successful brand or a company, the goal of a brand is become a lifestyle, meaning everybody using it. But to be able to get there, to create a brand, you got to have the word, the communication, how you want people to see you, how you want to communicate. And is one of the most important thing in marketing and advertisement. If you really think about it, if you look at any ad campaign, even if you look at an artist, okay, let's say you look at an NFT art, and if you don't have someone that communicates, to be able to like really tell the feeling of the art, or explain why the art is, or how it was done in a way that people can understand, and also have that feeling of connection, because a real true communicator is the one that can be able to connect no matter where you're from, what part of the world you are able to connect. And with that communication specialist, their job is to make sure that your art and your project is communicated in a way that is people are embracing it, they understand it, because the goal of a single artist is to become a brand. And then when you become a brand, you want to become a lifestyle. So I just went on a tangent, but that's the most important part of a communication specialist, right, Nico?
I agree. I agree 100% with you.
So let's talk a little bit about Caden and your journey. So when did you guys decide to get in? You and your wife and your Caden decided to get into NFT, and what brought you here in the first place?
Okay, well, let me start off by, well, let's start at the beginning. Well, first of all, I am a husband and I'm a dad, and I'm a dad to Caden, who is an amazing little 7-year-old. Caden, he is autistic, and we are from Johannesburg, South Africa. Where we live in South Africa, there is sadly no real support structure in place for autism. Our public school systems are pretty much degraded to the point where they just don't cater for kids with special needs. And you, as a parent who's got a child with special needs, the only options you're really left with are private schools. Currently, private school fees are more than half of what I earn a month doing my normal day job. And that does not even begin to cover any of Caden's medication or any of his therapies, which still come on top of that. And more than a year ago, my wife and myself, we found ourselves in a situation where we had to take Caden out of school. Financially, we just couldn't carry that cost anymore. Things pretty much got as bad as where we had to decide between having a roof over our heads or being able to send our kid to school. And, the day that we actually finally made that call, that was a horrible day. That was the worst day we had as parents. I don't think any parent ever wants to find themselves in a situation where they have to pick something else above their own child's needs. But, luckily for me, I married the most amazing, never say die, never give up, no matter how bad the situation is, woman underneath the sun. And her name is Bianca. And my beautiful wife, she would not quit or rest until she found a solution to our problem. And she found NFTs. And that is basically where our journey started. Our journey started actually more than a year ago. Pretty much for the first year of that journey, we were absolutely unsuccessful. We had no traction. We had no sales, nothing of the sort. And the strangest thing happened. One day I received a DM from someone saying, listen, they came across our project and they really love what we're trying to do. They love the art, but they just don't understand. They've never heard us speaking on a Twitter space. So we were kind of like, what is a Twitter space and how do we use it? And this guy was kind enough to walk me through the whole process of what a Twitter space is and how do you get on it and how do you use it. And that was actually tomorrow, 29 weeks ago, that this whole journey actually started. And 29 weeks ago on a Monday, I spoke on my first Twitter space, and that is where our project actually started to gain traction. That is where we started moving Caden's art, where we started building our community. We set out certain milestones which we wanted to reach. The first milestone was to get him back into speech therapy. We reached that milestone. The second one was occupational therapy. And the big milestone for us was we wanted to raise at least 6 months worth of school fees before we put him back into school. And I think you might be asking yourself, why 6 months? Caden, a lot of autistic people, they are very routine bound. Like for instance, with Caden, we've got a routine that we follow pretty much to the T every single day. It does not change. And the slightest change to his routine causes chaos. It's like his whole world just literally crumbles around him. He he just doesn't know how to cope with it. And when we had to take him out of school, that was a massive change to the routine. And, it was 2 months of watching my kid go through absolute hell day in and day out. And, that is not something I ever wanted to put him through again. So this is why we decided, we want at least 6 months in the bank so we know that there's a security net, a safety net in case, something goes horribly wrong, like Ethereum decides it wants to go to zero. Then at least there's 6 months worth of school fees covered and we can at least make a plan. We can work towards another solution. We managed to raise the 6 months. This week that ended now was week 5 back in school. Which, I've not seen my child this happy in a very, very long time. And I know it probably sounds weird hearing that a kid is actually happy going to school. Well, my son is over the moon because there was also a very long time that he asked me almost every day, so when am I going back to school? And it was the worst feeling on planet Earth having to tell him soon and actually not knowing when is soon going to be. So, our NFT journey it's basically put his life back together. It's given us an avenue to be able to support him, to give him the best life we can possibly give him. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I've pinned to the top there, I hope it's okay. It's a thread that actually explains our whole journey in a lot more detail than I would actually ever be able to convey into words.
Thank you for sharing that. I really
Talk
appreciate
to
it. I'm going to
you,
put that in with my story.
from a position that you cannot understand how much I understand you. I have an only son, an only kid. He's 17 years old now, and he's autistic. I'm shocked and in love because I saw your description, your profile description, and I am taking in this moment a gun because I'm going to rob you this beautiful, wonderful, and marvelous description that you put here. He has a special ability called autism. In the case of my son, he's 17. While we have in Spanish, he says, he speaks in first person in his Twitter account. His name is Gael Cecilia, and he says, autism is my superpower. Okay, this autism is my superpower thing. I've seen it before in many other accounts from people with kids suffering autism, but by this approach, this point of view, just like all this, that he has a special ability. Seeing autism has an ability, which is what it really is. Because I believe that in this planet and in this world we're living nowadays, there is a lot of things that autism in mild cases or moderate, even moderate or stronger cases, is kind of a blessing because it allows the kids, you probably have difficulty of learning in some areas, but somehow they are protected of a lot of weird stuff going on in the planet right now that they really don't need to use or to. That's not necessary to have a plentiful and happy. And I with the mother of my son Gael, we have been working together. In his case, he's 17 now. His autism was detected when he was 1 year and 4 months old, and we started with the gluten-free diet. There were eras or sometimes he had like 7 therapists at the same time. He started talking at 5 years old when he spoke his first word, and now, and 10 years later, my son, he learned English. Not he speaks Spanish, and besides that, he did learn English through YouTube by himself. Okay, he doesn't speak it perfectly, but he can communicate, and he's just like a sponge, and he pronounces it so many things, so many good. I mean, and that she want to develop. They are living now in South America, away from me. I am in Venezuela. They are in Argentina, and we got separated like 10 months ago, barely. And she wants to work with him, and he make a small reports on events to. For example, in Argentina, they do something wonderful. They do, for example, the musical of Shrek, the movie, the musical of Broadway. They do the Spanish version, and then they do something incredible. They do these special functions for kids with Down syndrome, with autism, Asperger, and a lot of even cerebral palsy, which is pretty strong. And you know what they do in the theater? Okay, the function is with the lights on, because a lot of kids are afraid of dark. The function is with the open doors are open, because there are a lot of kids that are afraid of being in closed spaces. The music, sound, and the voice of the singer is at 50 or 40% of the normal function volume, because you know how strong and how sensible is the audition for a lot of autistic kids. I don't like to say autistic kids, sorry, kids with autism, which hear better than some dogs and some foxes, and it's incredible the capability of listening. So sometimes many parents which are not aware of the condition of their son cannot understand why they turn crazy when some music is too strong in a party, in a birthday party or whatever. And it is because they listen more than us. So these special functions are like magic. It's a wonderful team, a stage company. It's called The Stage Company, because even being Argentinian, the name is in English. And the function is just pure magic, because they allow everything. The kids can walk, they can stand up, they can scream. The only thing which is not allowed is that get the kids into the stage, because of course the play has dancing and has the actors moving and different things, and probably, well, obviously they try to develop the function the most close to the normal function that is possible, and that implies, well, choreographies and things, and there are movements that could be dangerous, and they could be hitting involuntarily a kid if the kid is on stage. So the only thing done that is not allowed in these functions, they call them relaxed functions, but the magic that develops there, and it's also the applause. They don't do the applause with the normal sounds, because there are kids. For example, my son, he hated birthday music and the birthday song when until being 10 years old was the first time he staging without crying and screaming, listening to the sound of the happy birthday song. And the applause is doing in the way that the deaf people make the applause for people with deaf disabilities, disabilities. You know, it's like putting up, moving the hands
Carlos, we're kind of
outside.
like losing you at the end right there. Carlos, we're losing you.
Okay, let me
But I
see.
remember you telling me that story about your son going to the musical. I think that is so that's so good. And Carlos, I was just thinking like you should host a space for parents who have and kind of like a support group, but kind of more of just connection and understanding. Because your son is 17 years old. You've gone through a lot, and there's so many tips that you're able to offer and share. And I'm sure
Well,
Nico would love
let
to be
me.
part of it
be-
too, because I think
Yes, before forgetting it, Nico, the first medicine, the first cure, the best therapy is called absolute and unconditional love. I mean, treat him absolutely normal, even if he has trouble with normal movements, attitudes, abilities. For example, my son is 17. He learned English by himself, but he still cannot tie his own shoes. He needs help for tying the shoes because his brain is not wired for that complicated movement because it's not so easy. For us, it's normal to tie a shoe, but for them, no, it's not possible. He, for example, cannot ride a bicycle because his brain doesn't understand the continuous circling movement, the movement in circles of his legs. So he moves halfway like the circle and then he goes back. It's like a half circle forward, half circle back. That's the only movement that his brain allows him to do. And we have tried and tried and tried, and some therapists have told us that, well, maybe with the time he can get just like a rewiring of his brain. I'm waiting him to be a little bit older to start applying Joe Dispenza meditations on him, which Joe Dispenza is now specifically developing for kids with autism. So I wanted to ask you, actually today, I mean, he can express himself. Does he speak in your language and he can communicate verbally or not yet?
Okay, well, let me actually tell you the story properly. When Caden got diagnosed with autism, he was nonverbal. Uh, when he was born, he didn't really cry. He never made any real sounds. And when he reached the age of 2, we kind of were like really concerned at that stage because we didn't reach any of those milestones. Like normal kids, they cry, they make sounds, they start forming words.
He didn't. Sorry to interrupt you. Probably he didn't smile too, because non-smiling is a very serious and very sadly is a pretty sure signal of autism. If you have a kid which is 1 year old and he doesn't smile, he probably has autism. Listen. I don't say this as a doctor. Check with a specialist. I just am telling you what is the general knowledge on the web pages and the specialists. But remember, I am a journalist. I am a journalist. I am a humor writer. I do a stand-up comedy. I mean,
you know what,
having
Carlos, you should write a story like this for me. I'll pay you for it. I'd love to publish a story like this about autism and being a parent and going through the different things. I think that would be great. But let's have Nico finish his story. But
yeah.
You
Sorry.
gave me such an incredible idea. So I'd love for you to write a story for me about that. Okay, Nico, sorry. We went on a tangent. Sorry. I got all excited.
No problem. Well, he got diagnosed with autism. And Carlos, he did smile when he was a baby. He did do that at least. But he just didn't make any sounds. And the doctor who diagnosed him, the specialist, basically told me and my wife that, the chances that our kid is ever going to speak is zero. And we just wouldn't accept that diagnosis. We were like, hell no, he will speak, and we will give everything we possibly can and do everything in our power to give him the gift of speech. I think everyone in this room can imagine what it must be like if you cannot speak. If you cannot express yourself verbally, what it must be like going through life. So, we got him the best help we could possibly afford at that stage. It was speech therapy, it was occupational therapy, it was art therapy. And I think art therapy was probably one of the best things we did for him. And art therapy, the therapist, she was absolutely amazing. She taught Caden that, he can basically express himself through art. He can take colors and he can associate different emotions and feelings with those colors. Like for instance, he got taught that red is for anger and pink is for love and green is for a new beginning or rejuvenation. Blue is for when you're down or sad. Black is for uncertainty, and so on and so forth. So we actually had a massive color chart on our fridge for a very long time, because that's how we communicated with our son. He is semi-verbal today. I'm very proud to say that it's the most amazing thing. He's able to come and sit next to me and tell me how his day is going, or listen, Dad, the paint is finished. You need to sort this out. But this is how art came to play. It's a massive part of how Caden communicates, how he expresses himself. Caden doesn't just paint for the sake of painting. There's a lot more to it for him. I will pin this to the top there. This is a piece that he created. We unfortunately had to move a while ago, and he was not happy. When I told him that, listen, we unfortunately have to move to a new house now, I could just see the wheels were turning and, things were busy falling apart. And that is a piece he created the day after I broke it to him. Now, if you look at that piece, there is a lot of red, there's a lot of black in that piece. He was absolutely furious with me and my wife that we had to move. There was also a lot of uncertainty because he didn't know where we were going. But luckily, if you look closely, there's a bit of green. So it showed that he did, to a certain extent, at least understand that, listen, this is a new beginning. A lot of his paintings, it's him capturing his day, something that happened in his day. Like I said, he recently restarted school, and I'm very happy and proud that he is back in school. And he started incorporating things that he learns at school into what he creates at home. Like, for instance, last week, Friday, they had a lesson on fire and fire safety. So the first thing he wanted to do when he got home is he wanted to create fire. So he told me, Dad, I'm going to create fire. So I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Want to tell me more about it? And, he told me that fire is dangerous and we must not play with it. And, they taught him that at school. And he created that piece out of that lesson. So for my kid, art is a massive part of how he communicates, how he, makes sense of his day, how he captures moments and forevers them into his art.
Wow, wow!
Oh my gosh.
I am so shocked, and so I feel such a strong emotion because I can really imagine the immense happiness that every wonderful thing for raising a kid with autism is that the little advancements are so huge in happiness. I mean, and believe me, I was told when he was 4 years old, he was not going to speak. Okay, and that was just exactly a year before he started to speak in Spanish. And
Carlos, you're
just
coming
six
across.
years-
Carlos, we're losing you.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me see.
Stay in one spot. Stay in one spot.
No, I am in one spot. It's the quality.
Now it's perfect. But when you got to the important part, you went in and out. It was like, oh, he'll be back. There you go. He'll come back. Yeah, that's usually he's in Venezuela, so the internet's really bad. So now that brings we're gonna stay a little half an hour. I hope you guys don't mind until 7:30. I want to continue the conversation because I wanted to be able to develop this story. So when I write about it, it's kind of like, understanding the why this is happening. And you never know, like here we are in America and you're in South Africa, and like we're like and Eli is like auctioning off his NFT art, and is to help you reach your goal for your for Caden's care and education. And it's so important because the more time he's able to be around other kids, and he's getting it taught, and he's spending things, and they're teaching him things. I think that's the key. And also I love the fact that Nico, I love the story about him, how he makes his art. That's just beautiful. It goes, that's incredible. And I also want to tell you a little something. Like, I actually had interns who were autistic. I didn't to be honest with you, I didn't realize they were autistic, to be honest with you. Like, I know the parents, so the parents asked me to give them a job. And so I started out with one. I taught her how to like live stream and be a co-host and everything, but I didn't think there was anything. And then I met her brother, so I hired her brother too. I didn't think about it. My other girlfriend, her stepdaughter, she was in high school, and you know, she was having a hard time communicating. So she asked me if I can give her a job. So, because I own a digital marketing company. So it's really about creating digital art and digital campaign and different things. So I had these kids working for me, and I paid them and I gave them credit, and it really helped them a lot because I felt like they got paid, but they were able to utilize their skills, which is like they had the eye for art. I mean, it was incredible. And that's how I would get, like, I'm telling you the story so that, down the road, Nico, you never know. You might end up having a communication company that has to do digital media. So something to think about. But yeah, I just want to let you know that I just didn't even think that my interns had any issues. Actually, I think when the pandemic happened, we had a big communication disagreement. So I felt, I think what it was is like you were saying, when you remove that every day, that lessons or things they usually do all the time, and all of a sudden take them away from it, it causes a lot of communication issues. So, and then I didn't even dawn on me until like just listening to you talk, and then it just, I had an aha moment of why, I had these interns that we went from loving each other so much to like them being so mad at me. Oh, here you go. Carlos is back. There you go, Carlos. The mic is yours. I sent you the co-host. If not, I could just give you a speaker. Let's see what happens. Let's see. And I'm going to invite you to speak. There we go. So, yeah, so this is fantastic. Okay. So, Carlos, are you popping back on? I gave you the microphone. If you can just grab the mic. Okay. Nico, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. I was like, oh my God, did I get rugged? So now, I know I'm like going, did I get rugged? And when I talk like that, because I've been sitting in NFT spaces Twitter spaces since February of 2021, and Carlos is one of the Twitter spaces hosts at the early. We're like the early birds. Literally. So we talked for the longest time, almost a whole year, until we actually did a space together about doing a space, and he was telling me all about his stuff. So I'm so glad that today we're doing this space. But Eli, so what's going on with your auction? how can we do this? I think I'm gonna have Nico come back. I'd like to do a series, a conversation about parents and NFTs and their gifted children. You know, that they have a special gift, and I think that's a really important conversation too. So Nico, I hope you were able to come join us. I really feel like Carlos. Carlos should do a story for me. Oh, we lost him again. He'll be back. But so Eli, tell us how far are you on your auction and what are the steps?
Sure. Yeah. So I have it up on OpenSea. That's where I'm running it. I'll go ahead while I'm doing this and once again pin that just so it gets refreshed at the top.
You can hear me?
I can hear you now. I think the co-host feature is having an issue.
Yeah, exactly. Keep me as a speaker only. I think it will be better. Sorry for the glitch, but I cannot do anything. I am in this part of the world.
No, you're perfect. No, I was just saying you should let my company Social Chat sponsor a space featuring parents who have NFT artists or parents who have, you know, young children who have a special gift, special talent, as we say, the superpower. Talk a little bit about it and, you know, have a conversation, because I love that post a story about this, because I don't know, I'm just sitting here and I had this aha moment, like, oh my gosh, I should write a story about NFT art and autism and how parents are connecting. I mean, this is a great way for parents to connect with their children, but to do something where you're including your child into the whole process is just listening to Nico's story, talking about Caden. I just like really I had an aha moment. I think I was thinking like 3 things at the same time, and Carlos, you were like the top of my list. So let's just, I'm going to move on to Eli. Tell us where you're at on your auction and what's the process. You say it's on right now.
Just a second, Tonya, just a second. I just put in the nest, I put the link of the last report that he made with help with his mom. There is a wonderful play called Come From Away, which is actually Canadian, and it was a hit on Broadway. And this is the second relaxed function that he assisted. The first one he saw was Shrek. And now you can, there in the nest, you have the link and you can see my son. He's very tall. He's
so gorgeous. Oh my gosh. It's the first time I've ever seen him. Like, we've been working together almost a year now and I've never seen a picture of him. Okay. I just came up with a new story idea.
Wow,
Carlos.
yeah.
So we'll talk. But let me go ahead.
This was last summer.
We have 25 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk offline. I'll call you after this, and we'll talk some more about it. I think that would be a great story for us to develop together. But Eli, so tell us about the auction. What are the steps? How far you're at, and when is the deadline?
Sure. Yeah. So it's up on OpenSea. I put the tweets, which have the link up in the top there, into the top of this space. If you just go one over. And I started it last Monday. The deadline, I set it for 1 week. So the deadline is tomorrow at, well, what is it? It's noon Central Time. So I set the starting bid at 0.3 ETH. I felt that, you know, with the, you get the NFT, the physical piece, and after the platform fee and the royalties, which I'm holding to, you know, offset the shipping, that seemed like the right starting point. So it's 0.3 ETH. I'm still, we don't have any bidders yet, but, you know, I'm not too concerned. Like if for any reason we don't end up getting it before Monday, we're going to keep going with it. So however long this takes, we're going to get this thing sold.
I'm going to help you. I'm going
to help you.
I'm going to help you with that.
I've got my wheels spinning on like some on what else I can do. Like my plan is to yeah, some t-shirts. My plan is to hop into some other Twitter spaces and just try and get this thing, get more eyeballs on it and see if I can sell this thing. If I have to offer some extra perks, I am more than willing to do that if it comes down to that. I don't know. Turn it into a challenge. 1,000 push-ups for every ETH spent. Yeah, so that's where it stands right now. Waiting for the first bidder at 0.3 ETH. It's up on OpenSea, and I'll be doing my best to make some noise leading up to the official deadline. But if it, for whatever reason, needs to be extended, it absolutely will.
I think you should be extended, like maybe for another week. I just feel really good about this. And so, so someone, if they buy this, they can turn around, make it into a T-shirt, a phone case, put it on their purse. That's possible, right?
I mean, if they really want to, yeah, they're more than welcome to.
Well, I literally sit in spaces and talk about this kind of stuff. That's why I'm asking you, because people don't see it that way. I'm like, oh my God, when you own an actual NFT, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever, really, if you think about it, depending on what the contract is about. But like, I think most of the time, because I've been gifted with NFTs, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna go get it printed T-shirts, because you can get them printed for depending how many you get, But you can number them.
There's plenty of services online where you can get a T-shirt fairly cheap, a custom T-shirt.
Oh yeah, there's one actually, Insta something. You can plug into your website if you're an NFT artist and you have the art and you want to be able to be offered this to something. When you sell an NFT, they can just once they get it, you send them a link, they open it, and it gives them ability to order this, and then you get a small, you get I think it's 50-50. The platform gets a percentage, but they do everything. They ship, they do everything, and this way, kind of give more utilities. Because I think that when people feel like they're just getting an NFT, they're getting an NFT, and that's and it's great if they get something, that the actual product with it. But I think it'd be cool if you made it more of a brand, about marketing too at the same time. I know it sounds so bad, but when it comes to Web3, I feel that the sky's the limit. Like the sky's the limit. Anything you do.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not. I think that's great food for thought. It's things that have crossed my mind. I have in the past run my own Etsy shop, and I've what do you call? I've pursued the how would you say, a career as an artist from a variety of different ways. I have done the whole in real life art walks, all of that. So I've definitely dabbled in the T-shirts and stickers and all that. And something that's crossed my mind for now, just given where I'm at. I have been doing a lot of traveling, moved down to Mexico City. I figured it was a lot easier, at least for the time being, to keep things purely digital until obviously it's something that I will consider going forward. But yeah, I think that's great food for thought. If anybody does want to make their own T-shirt, if they get this NFT, they're more than welcome to. I'm not holding back the copyright or anything like that.
So you should do a Spatial. It's SPATIAL. It's free. You can invite people there and talk about your work and stuff. That would be kind of cool for you to do too. It's kind of like a private party. A lot of the NFT artists are utilizing the metaverse, to be another part of the utility. Something to think about. I don't know. Do you know anything about them?
Yeah, I actually know a fair bit about
Nico, you've been into one of those? You've been to Spatial?
No, I actually haven't. But I actually do want to chime in on the whole T-shirt and merchandise thing. We actually do have merchandise as well. I got a request from a couple of our holders. They wanted T-shirts and they wanted coffee mugs, and I got asked, I need to find a way to make that happen. So I'm actually using a platform called Teespring. That's very similar to what you described. They literally do everything. So a holder can go and order a T-shirt in the size and color they want, and we get a percentage off the sale. So, and I would actually suggest look into it. I mean, it's not a bad source of revenue. It's not as good as NFTs, but you've got certain holders who actually do want that physical merchandise that they can wear or drink out of or whatever you have.
Yeah, I loved all that stuff because people, because I come from the old, like, I actually worked at Saks Fifth Avenue, a laundry cosmetic company called NARS in the 90s. And we had these t-shirts. Oh my God, they were like $200-$300. And anytime I look at an NFT art and stuff, I just think about that t-shirt because the guy that, like the main guy, I can't remember the name, Brandon. It's been so long ago, but when I met him, he looked like someone that was just like they found like he was homeless or something because he looked so he was up for days, and it was just so funny that his t-shirts were like the lowest price was like $300. It was $500 for one t-shirt with a lot of color that's really funky as they call it. But I think of NFT art. And when you buy an NFT art, it'd be great to be able to get a t-shirt, especially girls, baby tees, so hot. Sorry, I'm going on a whole fashion tangent on NFTs and art and fashion. That's fantastic, Nico. I love that.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, we go ahead, Carlos.
Okay. Can I have like 2 minutes?
We talked about how we can everybody can this is up for auction and it's an open sea, and I told Eli he can do it, and he does it. The deadline is tomorrow, but then he's going to extend it. And we talked about t-shirts and hats because once they buy this NFT, they can turn around and make a t-shirt and cups and stuff, because Nico's doing that for some of his holders.
That's perfect. What I wanted to share is something that regarding the communication problem, I think I commented that already in a space before here. There is a story, a wonderful story of a couple. His kid also has autism, and he wouldn't talk, but he started talking to my. He started talking. The first words he's let me start from the beginning. It's important to have a pet. And in dogs, the Schnauzer breed is the most recommended for kids with autism. I don't know how hard it is for you there in Johannesburg to find a Schnauzer dog. They are small, they don't grow a lot, but they are just like they were created by God to be just like the kids with autism guides, just like golden retrievers are wonderful dog guides for blind people. And you know what happened in this case with this family? That the kid started blurting his first words when he was in the company of the dog, okay? And then a therapist, and this is a wonderful story, talk their parents. He was in a session with the therapist, and the therapist told the kid, "Hey, tell Rocky." The dog's name was Rocky, and he told the kid, "Tell Rocky to tell your mom that you won the big ball, the big ball that he was playing with, a green ball." He brought a couple of stuff in the home, and his mother had put that up in the closet, but he wouldn't talk. He couldn't express it. Then he, in front of his parents, he talked to Rocky, to the dog, and he talked, "Hey, tell my mom I want my green ball back." Okay, so it was the first sentence, and the mother understood, and she was prepared by the therapist, and the mother did talk to the dog. Okay, so the dog became like a magic and miraculous translator and interpreter. I mean, and they started for a couple of years to communicate through the dog. So the boy talked to the dog, and then the mother answered to the dog, and the poor dog didn't understand nothing. Yeah, but I think he was capturing the situation, just like he was being the communicational bridge. And then one day, for the first time, and this always difficult for me to tell this part of the story without crying. The boy entered into the kitchen and grabbed his mother, and for the first time, and I think he was like 9 years old or something like that, he told her mom, "Mom, I love you." Those was her first words. It's the first time he spoke directly to her. She started crying. He phoned her husband to the job. He came, he left the office and ran to the house. I mean, it's movie and Netflix stuff based on real life events. It's wonderful. And that happens a lot. And there is now this special technique of making, for example, my son, there is as a particularly, something particular. He's incapable of referring to himself in first person. His name is Gael, and he always says, Gael, for example, Gael, did you like the movie? Yes, yes, Gael liked the movie a lot. I mean, he names himself like he is another person. We still cannot solve that, but the therapists told us that that problem should disappear on time. But it's not a big problem because he's very expressive. He can talk in English and in Spanish. Well, in English, he doesn't do that. He doesn't notice. But in Spanish, he always refers to himself in third person. So that's another of the things that tells you that he still has the condition, of course. But I am totally astonished with the painting capability. My kid loves painting too, but he doesn't paint. He puts everybody around him to draw for him. He's a dictator. He's a dictator because you come to my house and he will say, "Hey, Nico, come on. Hey, come here and draw this to me." And you won't leave my house without drawing for him. He's like he's grabbing a gun and pointing it to you. It's so funny because he's so strong regarding this. But I think that he's learning how to draw, watching other people draw, because he has done some Angry Birds and drawings, and he has a wonderful hand for drawing. But he still doesn't like to do it voluntarily, you know. But he's just like watching other people and putting all the family to write around him. It's like mom made me a drawing. Oh, I am so busy. Please, please, please. Then his mom sits down and do the drawing, and I'm sure that he's absorbing every way, the movement, the traces, and the sketches. And sometime in that moment, whenever he wants, he will explode with that like a volcano, and he will express himself through the pen and the pencil. But until now, he orders others to write for him. He's like Walt Disney in the middle of his company, ordering the 300 artists to make the drawings of Cinderella and stuff.
I love your stories, and it's so. I mean, these are the kind of conversation that I love hearing. It's so important. But you know what? It is about 7 minutes. We're getting ready to shut down the space. I wanted to be able to. If anyone in the space want to grab the mic, you can. I think we just went on. I think we covered so much today, and which is incredible, by the way.
Yeah, this has been great. I mean, very, very emotional. And remember, love is the magic potion. I mean, send him love, look him love, grab him with love, hug him with love. Make a love factory inside your chest and produce love in liquid form, in gas form, in solid form. Make him feel love. Is the magic cure for autism? Well, there is not actually a cure. We know it's a condition that probably will accompany them the rest of their lives. But they can get better. They can get more and more abilities and skills, and the best catalyst for making these skills grow is pure and sheer love, unconditional. I mean, it's not to spoil them, it's not to raise or bringing them. It's like a bad spoiler. Well, forget about that. Treat him normally, and be just like a faithful, and believe us. I mean, we believe in the love, the power of love for autism, because we have been living that magic for almost 15 years now, more than 15 years now.
Those are great final thoughts there, Carlos. And so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the space. So, Eli, you're gonna be popping into more spaces to get this to raise more awareness. And if there's after tomorrow, if it doesn't get a bid, then you will continue. You can extend it. I said you should extend it for another 7 days.
If it comes to it, yes, but we're going to do everything we can to get it sold before the deadline. I'm, like I said, got my wheels spinning, thinking on how, what else I can offer. So stay tuned, figure that out. And I just want to say thank you so much for having both of us. Once again, like I said at the beginning, I really appreciate the invite for myself and for Nico. Helping spread the word about this. It was really, really awesome of you to run the space for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
coming.
sharing.
Thank you for sharing and coming. Yes. This was real magic today, and this is. I think a lot of things are gonna change, and I love that. I will use that a lot. Autism. My son has an ability called autism. What a wonderful way of putting it. God bless you for that slogan, that motto. No matter wherever you got it, I don't know. I don't care if you invented it, if you saw it in a magazine, whatever. I mean, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. It's actually an ability, because kids with autism can do things that other kids will never be able to do, and vice versa. So I think it's a win-win situation, no matter the case. And you learn a lot as a human being, why you came for this planet, to this planet, what is your mission. Mark Twain said, the two more important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why you were born. I love that quote.
I love that too. And I'm so happy I'm recording all this stuff too, by the way. And Nico, any final thoughts? And you have to try. You guys have to try out Spaccia. This should be the next one that you should try. I think that'd be great to have a showing.
No real final thoughts from my end. I just wanted to thank you as well for hosting the space for both myself and Eli. And yeah, it was absolutely great chatting to you. And yeah, I would definitely, if you want to have another space at some point, touching on parents in the NFT space and parents with autistic kids in the NFT space, definitely let me know. I can definitely invite some of our other friends to come and join us. We have connected with a lot of other parents in the space as well. And quite a few of them have got their own causes which they are rallying for. So yeah, I would definitely love to chime in with you again at some point. But from my end, thank you so much for the space, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to wrap up this space. And again, I appreciate everyone for being here. Make sure you retweet the auction tweet of Eli's, because I want this to happen. So, and again, everyone have a great day, and we'll have this up on the Twitter space live on Twitter Spaces or on Twitter Live, and it's on YouTube, Facebook group, and it'll be on our website. And again, everyone have a great night, and we'll be back next Sunday. Bye, everybody.